Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Carol Matebula saying hi, 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 hi. Yes, as you know, here I am as usual saying hello, and I'm growing in these YouTube channels of mine. Still a little bit nervous sometimes, but you know what I realize? It's natural to be nervous, and we can't stay away from who we are because of the essence of nervousness. And nervousness, somewhere, somehow, it's a good friend only if you go with the flow with that nervousness to reach to your destination where you want to reach. Now, today we are talking about the essence of self discovery. It has been weekend, you enjoyed yourself, you relax, you encounter events that were good. Some of them were low, some of them were high, and you're looking forward to the week ahead of us that is given again to us. Remember, as we grow, sometimes we think that days, minutes, seconds are something that are normal because of we tend to classify everything as a norm. But the reality is that every day that is given to you, it's not really, really normal. It's a present. That one day you might wake up and find that it is not there no more, and suddenly you are sent to other dimensions of life, which I truly believe that there's no such thing as death. Death does not really happen. Death happens, but we are sent to another dimension because of there's nothing perishing. Trees are one of my samples that I really, really tend to focus my understanding of this life upon. Every seasons, leaves comes and leaf goes, and as they come, they flourish to this beautiful flowery world of ours, the secret flowery world that we see it emerging, and suddenly it disappears and never know where it has hibernated towards. But then suddenly it emerges again, ever repeating the same course of this powerful world that we're living in. So you are like that. So today, when I mention, I love the word self-discovery because I have developed myself and still developing myself of who is this Carol Matebula, what has made me me, and how did this word self-discovery had molded me to this magnificent woman who 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 embraces the essence of her inner voice. It does not matter how much nervous systems are dancing around her. She goes through the nervous system and say, nerves, we gotta embrace who we are in this world because we came here to do that because we never know when we'll leave. But as we here, let's make sure that people get to know about us, meaning that I do not let fear overpower me. I don't let the happenings and all of us, I do not want to be the one who understands it, the one who has all figured it out. I am still the woman who's still learning, especially coming from the background where I came from. Now, for me, what has made my journey to be so amazing in this so-called self-discovery was being aware of where I came from. you know, Being aware that I came from a systematic that was not in favor of my growth, that was not in favor of brightening that light that I own within me. And this light was a light that I was born with, but my situation, because there was no light in my situation, I was suddenly covered from a very early age with this darkness. So the only way that I could emerge from that darkness into slowly lightening my light was to kind of divide myself into four persons and this started very, very early age when I was still trying to find out who am I going to be, exposed to those people who had their moms, who had their dads, who on Christmas Day, on New Year's Eve, they'll all rush to the family. It's Christmas Day. We're gonna go for Thanksgiving and all these things. In South Africa, of course, they celebrate Thanksgiving. And when they did that, I went along. Hey, me too. I'm gonna go see my family. And through this, it was me trying to understand, how do I fit in this whole picture of the universe, in this whole picture of community and society. And I realized that I was not going to fight to fit in. I was going to fight to try to find myself, because when I find myself, I'll be able to fit in. And this started at very, very early age. So that was a step number one. Find yourself instead of fitting in. And finding myself, I knew that I was gonna appear as the one who was not really easy to understand, because of course my situation was not an easy situation to understand. So when I was around those who had similar situations, which I was always surrounded with them, I appeared as the one who's a little bit strange. They used the word strange actually when they used to talk to me. So I had to really find out about what is so strange about me. But then I realized that no, I was not strange. I was just different. I came, my surrounding and my circumstances were different from the rest. And having to admit that I was not strange, that was actually my freedom to self-discovery and my freedom to acceptance, to accept who I was. But I was a little girl, isn't it? 19, 20, 21, 22. Everything seemed so glorious, and everybody's celebrating. And this celebration, you look at it as an outsider, and it looks so well, and it looks so shiny. But I had this me who I had to also make her shine, connect with her. And self-discovery was so accepting myself, knowing that I wasn't strange. I had to find myself. I had to research who Carol was. Gave me such a thrill into my being. Now, having to move away from now, kind of really understanding that I wasn't strange, I had to go into the world of understanding the way of making myself to survive, because I understood now that nobody was going to give me a place to live, but I had to create that. Nobody was going to give me money. I had to create that. And I didn't even know what owning an apartment was, because coming from apartheid era, most of us, we lived with our families, or we moved into a shack, or you move into a house. So of course, I moved from my family who lived in this amazing middle class home into now finding myself. And of course, I had a choice as well, and isn't that amazing for my situation as well? I chose who was I going to be. I didn't say, because if I came from these circumstances, this is what I'm going to settle for. Settlement was not going to be the story that I was going to be exposing myself to. I was going to expose myself to getting the view that my eye has given me of so-called lifestyle. And my lifestyle was not a shack, because as I visited the shack, I realized that there was no sense of creativity. There was no sense of, having to travel there and find out that people didn't have a clear sanitation. Of course, I felt for them, but I thought, if you were creative enough, you could put money together and create and build sanitation. And I thought, I'm not going to be in this community, because I think this community was not so creative in my thought. And I had a right to have those thoughts at that age, because I was trying to find a community that I could fit in with. Now, having to grow up without a clear structure and without clear guidance to life, because of we all flourish in this world because of we are guided. And some of us in this world, we don't realize how lucky we are, because we grow up with guidance. Guidance, it's the essence of who we are going to be. Some of us, we are guided, but parents aren't there. But they guide us. Wherever they are, in their melody, they've got you. We have to make sure that our son goes to school well. We have to make sure that when we come back from our trips, wherever we are, we have been in the world, even though we're tired, we have to try to see how he's doing. for me, I wish I had that. And I'm not really trying to blame anyone and say, but I never had that. I never had anyone who had to look at my education, who had to say, oh, she has to go to school, oh, we have to make sure. So all that became my responsibility. It became my responsibility to make sure that the world was going to be my home in a way that I was going to have to guide myself. So remember, the first thing that I said, I had to separate myself into four. The first thing was I was okay just as I am, even though I didn't fit in. For me, it was not about fitting; it was about self-discovery. So after I have accepted myself as I am, I realized that I had to, acceptance and self-discovery. So the second one was, of course, self-discovery. In the self-discovery, I I remember one day, I dated this amazing brother who introduced me to the essence of life, who really, really suddenly gave me an apartment. And I lived in this beautiful apartment. And suddenly it was the first time for me actually to feel normal, to feel like, wow, I'm a part of this beautiful life. Oh, look, I've got I've got 1 bedroom apartment, and I cleaned it and I did that. And this guy became everything to me, because of, for me, as I was searching myself, as family was not there, and as we were going through apartheid, we were going through change in South Africa, after Mandela won the elections. Mandela came out 1990. 1990, I think I was about 20. 1991, I was 21. 1992, of course, I was still in the method of 21, getting to 22. And in 1993, I was still that girl who was, and then 1993, 1991, 92, 93. That's when I was living with this beautiful brother of mine who, of course, introduced me to life. And I hold on to him so tight, because at that moment, this was the only thing that I had. Now I had to now discover myself and discover love and discover men and discover everything. And of course, I didn't know anything. I just mixed everything, as you know, when you grow up like me with no sense of guidance, no sense of elderly people, no sense of so I'm actually really self-made, as I said to you guys, that I ran away from home from the age of 14 to try to define who I am, and not running away because I was silly, but running away because of the circumstances that I found myself in. So living with this amazing brother who would definitely probably find himself in the story. I'm not going to mention any names. And this brother really took care of me, he loved me. He, in his own way, he really did love me. But he didn't know that he was really actually with an orphanage girl who was just new in the world of human connection, and, who had been navigating through fear of trying to find herself, even though she had accepted herself for who she is, and she was looking for a certain lifestyle. And the brother presented himself, who he was really handsome. I liked him very, very much. And what I liked about him, when I first met him, he respected me. He looked at me as me, and I thought, wow, somebody is admiring me, even though I'm so ugly. Because of course, in those days, I still classified myself as an ugly girl. So this is a journey of me to self-discovery. And of course, this man did his best to celebrate me and him. But then I think somehow he realized something. I don't know what he realized. And then I became very afraid, because suddenly I felt like, wow, I'm going to go again in this world of searching and dangerous and unsafe and etc. And of course, I showcase anger, as we do when we are afraid. We showcase anger. And in those days, I used to deal with anger. For me to deal with situation was to deal with anger, because of growing up through a system of anger. You believe that when you are angry, that's the only way you can pass the story across. And once again, I was thrown back to the big mouth of the beast. The beast, which is the earth. The earth, I look at it as a beast, because we are all navigating through it and trying to find a way that we don't get swallowed, that we don't get trapped. And coming out of that, I was still in a journey of self-discovery, having to identify me, who was I going to be. Wow, that was the biggest journey. So the 21, 22, 23, 24 was the moment of me really trying to identify, who am I? Wow, who's going to be me in this world? Of course, I come from apartheid. Yes, there's been this apartheid. Yes, there's been this hatred towards Black people, but also there's me who does not have a balance in the Black community, which I don't know the Black community at all. I don't know the white community, and I don't know the Black community, because the Black community was never there to really guide me. It was always chaos, anger, beating up, insults, rapes, and all this. So I found myself in a limbo of trying not to be the one who's going to blame everyone, trying to find a way to find my own kind, my own people, because I truly believe that we all have our own kind. Those who would look at us in our eyes and understand us and love us for we, being we, and also introducing us to the easiness of life. So I was searching for that, and the search was not easy, but I think the only thing that kept me going was the fact of self-discovery. I had already understood from the moment when I made a decision that I'm not gonna fight to fit in. I'm gonna fight to understand me. So through all these happenings in life, I always try to understand me, and also to self-reflect and scrutinize myself as all these things were happening. Not having anyone in the world that you could cry to when you had problems. Not having someone that you could turn to who would understand you for you, that you were terrified. You're just a little girl who had overwent through such an amazing, an amazing trauma in your life. And there you were trying to find yourself. And it's not written in us, because of course, I also had this sense of peace that my great-grandmom had taught me. So I could fit in everywhere. Wherever I came in, people welcomed me. Wherever I came in, people spoke their tale. And as they spoke their tale, and I realized that, wow, actually, I'm not alone in this tale. Wow. People came, spoke. And me, at that moment, I was afraid to tell who I was. I listened. And then I analyzed. I listened and I analyzed. So I'm telling you this story that in life, we are kids as we are born. The day we are born, it does not matter how old you are still like as you were yesterday when you were born yesterday. Nothing under the sun, it's matured and old as we think it is. Every day it's a new day, and every day it's a discovery. And every day you discover yourself. You gotta discover yourself through your fears, especially your fears. Your fears are your best friends, because your fear, it's that shadow self that tells you of your magnificentness. It's that shadow that tells you who you are. It's that magnificent spirit that says, hey, honey, stand up. I know your knees are wobbling, and take a walk towards where you want to be. So my journey has always been listen to my inner shadow self while it guides me to my self-discovery. So having to experience all these things, and there was a moment of awakening where I realized that, you know what, Carol, it's not what you have experienced. It's not what I have done. It's what you are going to do with your life. Because the more you stick on what they have done, you do not allow the power of self-discovery to occur. It's not really about what has happened in the past. It's what's happening now at this present moment. And while the country was celebrating Nelson Mandela, he's out of prison. Oh, we are free, we are free. I tap into my own self, and I educated myself. I educated myself. I went to libraries, and to my fascination, of course, physiology and anatomy was something that was drawn to me. I was excited to understand about the body, and I did whatever in my power to go and study about the body, and that my journey began. And when I found the body, and I realized that there was something called mindfulness, health and well-being, I thought to myself, wow, health and well-being, this is where I'm going. And from that moment, the decision was made. I didn't minimize myself. I didn't say to myself, with a level of education that was given to you, who are you who's going to go into health and well-being? I just, because I was in the quest of not fitting, I was in the quest of finding myself. And God, I did that. I then acquire. There was an ad in Cape Town. Then I moved from Johannesburg, of course, and I went to Cape Town. When I got to Cape Town, there was a woman giving. I went to Classified, finding a job with my own legal knowledge and thinking, I don't care who's going to give me a job out there. This is going to be whatever job I get. But of course, I have put into my thoughts what jobs I was not going to do. Some of you might think, what arrogancy. And that arrogancy is that I knew who I wanted to be. I knew that I wanted to do things that was going to satisfy me, as I was so much into the quest of self-discovery. Was not going to be about me minimizing myself just for finances. It was about me finding something that was going to fit in with this woman that I was embracing, this woman that I was rebirthing, this woman that I was mothering, this woman that I was fathering. I knew that the career that I had to get was going to be a career that was going to kind of mother me, father me in a way that I was going to, celebrate. So now and of course, health and well-being, as it's something that I was interested in. The moment I saw that ad, and the ad was saying, a therapist required and training provided. And I thought, I need to be trained. And it's health and well-being. Of course, I made a phone within a second. I just circled that and I phoned the woman. And the woman was a little bit kind of, are you qualified? And I said, no, but that's why I'm phoning you, because you say the training is provided. So the fact that you say training is provided, I think this could be a fit for me, because I'm highly, highly, highly longing to be trained. And the woman said, okay, come in tomorrow. Of course, I went in with my shirt up to here, all my belly, stomach outside, and which you don't dress up for an interview like that. And as I walk in, this woman looked at me. From the blink of a moment, she lay her eyes on me. I knew that I was going to get a job. Long before the interview, she met me and she fell in love with me, and I could feel it. And I was just myself. She asked me questions and I answered. And the only thing that I said to her after the interview, am I going to get a job, yes or not? And the woman said, yes, you're going to get a job. And my God, I went there and they were doing acupuncture. They were doing, they were doing lots of things around Western and Eastern way of looking after the body. And I trained with them. And I said to her that I've got my technique from my great-grandmom. And she said to me, okay, show me the technique from your great-grandmom. And if it works with us, then you'll be employed. I showed her the technique and she loved it. And she said to me, we're going to have to train you a little bit more on physiology and anatomy. My God. So what I'm trying to say is that in life, it's not about what we do not have or what we do not know or how much we should fit in. In our life, it's about how much we discover ourselves and how much we discover those who would understand us, those who are in a quest of themselves discovering themselves. Because when we're in the quest of discovering ourselves, we don't judge so much. We don't put so much expectations to others. We let others to be, but we celebrate ourselves with them. And of course, this woman was one of those women who was celebrating herself, and she celebrated me. And I remember me working in that environment and thinking to myself, I have found my journey. I have found my career. And I learned a lot there. I learned it was about nutrition, it was about everything. And of course, what fascinated me, it was about anatomy and the essence of the meridians, where I studied a lot about the energy force that runs within us. Because as an African girl, of course, I learned about how to work with the body in a certain way, but I didn't learn about the energies that we could touch and see. Of course, I learned about hidden spiritual awareness that of sensory and feeling and knowing when things are right and knowing when things are wrong just by sensory. Now here, it was something that I could touch. So Carol, the girl from foster home, the girl who didn't know her father, the girl who didn't know, the girl who was exposed to, suddenly she was closing that door slowly but surely and saying, I am going to the future. And no matter how the future looks like, the future, that's where I'm going, because I have discovered myself. Now, number 3 was, remember I said I've got 4 persons in me that I admire. So the first one was not to fit in and knowing that it's about me finding myself. Number 2, it was about me self-discovery. And self-discovery was going to be in all these 4 things, but was going to be important for me to identify as a step number 2 that I found that has made me to be who I am. Number 3 was not to compromise myself, to settle for, because I come from this background, this is how I have to be treated. Now, having to move around this world of working with this woman, I realized one thing, that because of the person had realized that I was vulnerable, I was alone in this world, she had given me a job. Sometimes I wouldn't get paid on the time that I had to be paid. Sometimes I would be humiliated because of some, that's why power, that's why I asked myself what power is. Power, it's not about you controlling others. Power is about engaging. And when you engage with others, really engage fully. I tend to do that. But because of I don't compromise myself, and I learned from this space of my first employment that I got was, how was I not gonna, kind of compromise myself because of my background and because of my situation? There I learned as well. I learned how to be, firstly, I did it with aggression and anger. You can't treat me this way. And, and as I was a little girl, all these experiences were kind of my toys. Me finding Carol and learning Carol as I was exposing myself to people. People were learning me. So was I learning myself. And even today, I'm still learning myself. I am exposing myself to you guys so nakedly to the world. I don't know how this works on me. Does it work on my advantage or does it work on my disadvantage? The only thing that I can say, it's that phase of my life where I'm playing with my toy of discovering me and expressing myself. So at this age in 2019, it's more really about understanding my self-expression, because that's something that had lacked over the years, to kind of really express myself to the core without me minimizing my voice of saying, oh, you're not good enough. You could have said it that way. So at this moment, I am in a way of using words to find my inner being. So having to put a footstep on the floor and say, no, I'm not going to be treated this way because of my background. Even though you're giving me money, even though you're giving me salary, my dear sweetie, it's not going to happen that way. What I work for, you need to pay me. And and then I remember me really having a nerve, actually, because of this woman didn't take me seriously, because she thought that, oh, she's struggling, and then I'm the first one to give her a job, so I can do whatever that I want to her. And then, of course, I had acquired an apartment because she was paying me a good money, and I acquired a beautiful apartment in Cape Town. And that was my first apartment that I owned. And it was in a very, very amazing location in Cape Town, in Tambuslu, my first space to occupy. as me was exactly what I thought I would be living in as my first apartment, beautiful, classy, new, and modern. And I thought to myself, yes, yes, life is happening. And suddenly, this woman took her business back. She didn't want to pay me. I remember me closing the doors, locking the doors, and intimidating her and saying, "You're going to pay me. And if you don't pay me, I'm going to destroy this business." People trying to, this is just me discovering myself. And here I think I was about 25, 20, 26, 25, I think. And losing my job, losing my first job at the age of 25 and thinking, damn, now what's going to happen? Now, one thing that I'm telling this tale because we make ourselves. There's no university that will make you you. University will give you the mapping. They'll map it and put it with yellow, gold, diamond, silver, and all these colors of the world. And when you finish out of that university, you have to always remember that you have to embark into your own university, where you become confident of yourself, where you do not do things to fit in, where you do things to self-discover your strength. And my life, it has always been about finding my strength, where I actually put myself in situations that were very, very hard in this world to try to find Carol. And to find Carol, not for Carol to fit in, not Carol to be spoken upon very less, but Carol to be appreciated as I appreciate everyone. I don't talk with people in a certain voice. I always honor people. And the moment people come into my world and try to mock me, I can see it from far away. So I'm still putting myself and my spirit as number one priority, because that's the only thing that I live here for. I live in this world to find my spirit and to identify my spirit. Now, having to come out of that work from that woman, what I did then, I started my own work in my own, that beautiful apartment that I had in Cape Town. And money came from left to right, left to right. And I was having a ball. And then from that, life started, I then, after that, I then went back to Johannesburg, as once again, I have learned. And I work for this amazing company in Johannesburg called Executive Hydro Spa. And there as well, I met the most powerful people in the world and the most influential people in South Africa. That was an amazing moment of my life. Once again, why I'm telling this tale, that nobody is a failure in this world. It's all about knowing yourself and knowing that you are the only one who can protect yourself. Either we might talk about the apartheid in the past. We might talk about how we have been humiliated by other race. But at the end of the day, we have also been humiliated in our own backyards by our own kinds. And everyone can resonate with this. The only thing that you have in this world, it's the universe, yourself, and your self-discovery, things to discover. The universe, yourself, and things to discover. And when you put these three things together, nobody's an enemy. Nobody owes you anything, but you owe yourself something. So this is my message. My message is that we become because of ourselves. We become because of what we desire and how we desire it. And remember, it was never clear. It was not always clear. Things were blurry. Things looked so terrifying. I had sleepless nights where I cried. Even today, I still go through that sometimes. As honest as I can be, we are living in the bubble. And in this bubble of we call Earth, you are this tiny, tiny little thing. As you think of a fly, how small that fly is, you are exactly as small, even smaller to other animals in this world. They look at you like that. So always remember, you are small and this bubble can be bigger. It does not matter how much you know, how much money you have had, how much or queen or kings in this world are, everybody could go through a problem of some sort. Now, the only way to define these problems is self-identity and self-discovery and self-understanding, knowing oneself. So I did that. And to cut the story short, I found myself now, of course, after studying all these things, working by myself. As I was working by myself, I started developing these techniques of my great grandmom. Now, having to tell the story of value where you come from, because of after I have worked with that woman, realizing that they were teaching me other methods, and these methods I had to explain them to the world. I realized that it was going to be difficult for me to explain myself via other people's culture and identity. And the only way that I was going to explain myself very, very easy and comfortable was using the technique of my great grandmom, which is going back to the heritage of being an African woman and taking my heritage and molding it into a system that was going to be my career. And I knew that I was embarking on a very, very difficult journey of presenting Africa as I have had over the years, that Africa was not looked as something important. And I thought to myself, I hear, but it's not being presented to me that I'm not important. Am I really not important as the world says it? Bear with me, you guys. It's just a little bit too much lighting in here. I'm just going to minimize the lighting a little bit so we can have a lovely discussion without the sun interfering. The sun is really, really interfering. Oh dear, so sorry. Now, where was I? Yes, so I was going to have to take my heritage and bring it into the world as a new technique in the world, because I realized that there was a Chinese method of healing the body. There was an Indian method of healing the body, mind, and soul. There was a Chinese healing, but Africa, there was none. In 1995, 96, 97, 98, there was nothing African out there, really. And this is the fact. I went to Google, I searched, because I wanted to go do education around the African methodology of healing body, mind, and soul when it comes to really presented highly as a high standard, whereby, of course, it was in our backyards. Of course, we had our sangomas. Of course, we had Baporofita. We had all this. It's not meaning that I studied it, but I'm saying in the world of oneness, where everybody come together and showcase their art. And I thought, this is not okay, I know that there's African massage. And there was this voice in me of, how can they say that? How dare it's not being presented? And there was a gap in me. And the gap was, once again, not to fit in, though, to discover. And I thought, I'm going to discover the African massage in the world. And because I knew the magnificent power that it had, because I knew how much knowledge I had acquired from my background, as of course, my great-grandpa, who I lived with, though they were old, I learned from them how to do about medicine. He took me to the field, and I learned. If I go to South Africa today, of course I'm in London at this moment. If I wish one day we can make a trip where I can take you to South Africa and show you this medicine that I've learned, including for the teeth. I was given a medicine from when I was about 18 years old that was gonna stop my teeth from rotting. And since then, I never had a rotten teeth. Only one was, and when this teeth happened, I was about 18, 17 years old. And that's when I was given the medicine. They said, okay, you're gonna lose that, but with this medicine, you're gonna use it and your teeth will be as strong as they can as long as you shall live. And indeed, I don't suffer with ache on my teeth. Of course, they gave me some. So having to have that power knowledge, that was just done as a hobby. It was a hobby actually, but beneath It was not a hobby. I didn't take it as a hobby. When it was happening, of course it was a hobby, but my great grandpa made me to be so observant of what was happening. He made me to be focused on the knowledge that was given. And of course, my great grandma, with her knowledge of teaching me about peacefulness, of forgiveness, of not taking the happenings, as lots of things were happening in my life there, as the core foundation of me. He said, always overcome the happenings. So having to be taught that, I thought, I'm going to take this in the world and I'm going to introduce myself into the world of health and well-being as an African, as an Afro health and well-being woman. So, and fun had begun because I was experiencing me. I was not talking about apartheid. I was not talking about what the white man has done. I understood from the moment in 1994 when I put my signature voting for ANC, I understood my freedom had begun. And my freedom was about me to find myself, not for me to fight against, because of when we leave, I say this because of this weekend, I nearly lost myself, going through the politics in South Africa and realizing what's happening in South Africa. And I realized one thing though, that the black people in South Africa and the white people, they're doing something wrong. None of them are finding ways to find peace. As long as we are aggressive, as long as we fight, as long as we have anger to try to fix what has been broken, South Africa will never be. I am one of the South African descendants who came through so-called apartheid, who saw what did apartheid do. But for me to heal myself, for me to discover myself, was to really realize that the madness happens either there's apartheid or not. Human beings will always guide you. Even though we sing a song of freedom, freedom, how much are we really free? And the only way, so this weekend, I was going through this, and suddenly I got rage. And this division came into my soul where I thought, oh no, there they are again doing it. There they are again doing it. And we need to change. The white people have to do this. And then suddenly the voice of my great grandma came and said, Carol, since you have been around the world, who have blocked you? Yes, some crazy two men from Belgium came and stole my business. And of course, they were white people. But out of the two of those silly guys who came and took my business and left me on my knees since 2011, and I'm still emerging from that, how many white people who have hold me up and embraced me and give me a stage for me to showcase my art and even learning my African art. So in my world, I realized that, goodness, it's so important to stay away from the madness of politics and really create an understanding of self-discovery. Because when you self-discover yourself, you realize that you are had in all corners of this universe. You might be an Indian, you have been had by your Indian people. You might be white, you have been had by your own white people. How many white people kill white people? How many black people kill black people? How many Chinese people kill Chinese people? Sometimes when we even go away from our own neighborhood and go kill others because of we have killed. If you have killed outside of your race, you have killed in your race. If you have lack respect outside of your own race, you have lack respect inside of your own race. So self-discovery is about finding something that will define you, that will make you the most beautiful person in this world, to embrace others, to become a part of others. Politics, sometimes they make us so angry, they bring a sense of madness in you because they make you not realize that it's not actually the system that blocks you sometimes, it's our own selves that we block ourselves. We block ourselves sometimes by not embracing our discoveries, by not us going into our journeys, the journeys that we know that we were designed for. I truly believe that I was designed for health and well-being. I truly believe that I was designed to connect with others on a deeper level. Yes, sometimes it's not easy because I do not compromise myself. If you come into my world and you want to learn from me and you want to discover from me, look at how much I give. And in my world, I give. I'm one of those, when I teach and share myself, I give fully. But there are those who do not understand themselves. And because they don't understand themselves, they think you are not giving fully. It does not matter how much you give, how much you give. Now, the key words around you mastering yourself and knowing yourself and not compromising yourself. It's knowing when you are appreciated. It's knowing where to appreciate. So what I appreciate life. I appreciate oneness. I know that in the world, we are all different flowers. And these different flowers, I can't stand and say, white man, you have done this, you have done that, you have done that. From that moment, I become exactly what I think that white man has done. I actually become that white man. If an Indian person has done that and done that and done that, and I feel that, you know what, this Indian person has done something wrong to me, you stay away from that. He's a human being. Now, you would find Indians who are amazing. So in this life, we've got people who are not right. We've got people who are right. We've got people who are celebrating others. We've got people who do not celebrate others. We've got people who embrace and shine the light on others. It does not matter which dimension of life you come from. It does not matter which continent you come from. We are one voice living in harmony. But when we are not in understanding ourselves, we create a story. So today, I think for me, the message today is that the most important thing is to discover yourself. Today, Vunkuwa has been teaching around the world and still emerging. Yes, my confidence was scarred in 2011 when I, of course, lost my father, and I was divorced in 2011. And of course, this stupid, silly two guys who came into my world and made me sign papers and froze my business for 3 years, that I lost all the customers around the world, and I lost money, and I started owing people. Even today, I still owe people something that was never my being. And realizing that taught me one thing again: never trust just like that. So that was the last thing that I have learned into my world. As I said, firstly was for me not to want to fit in. This fit in thing, it's one of the most poisonous things as we walk. Don't fit in. Just be yourself. Discover yourself. Number two, make sure that you how can I put this one? Make sure that you put time and you invest in your self-discovery. Discover yourself. Really, really discover yourself. And this discovering yourself, it comes in different ways. It comes in you finding new ways, you not knowing where you're going. And it's right sometimes not to know where you're going, but listening to your voice. Sometimes when we don't know where we're going, that time you need time for silentness. When I wake up in the morning and sometimes I want to be creative and nothing is there. And sometimes it happens. It happens that sometimes you wake up, you want to be creative, and you fight and you fight and you listen to your inner spirit, and the spirit says, Carol, there's nothing today. Today you just need to relax. You relax. And you go into silentness. It could be 1 day, it could be 2 days, it could be 3 days. Now, after that, wake up from that silentness. Especially if you want something that's going to be an impact in your life. Especially if you want that it's going to be something that's going to change your life for the better. It's important sometimes to go into that self-discovery of silentness. Then after silentness there's another discovery of creativity. It is so important to be creative, even when you're in that silentness. Create, even though that creativity does not seem as if it's okay. At that moment, everything won't be okay when the spirit it's not engaging into the sound. It's in the it's engaging into the sound of silentness. Be creative, because after that silentness, that creativity will take you higher to the destination that you want to be at. So no matter what circumstances you come from, please don't judge anyone. No one is holding you back. We might fight the world. We have fought. Those who are fighting for equality, do it. But do it in silence of beauty. Do it in clear conversations. The moment there's ego, fighting, I see so much rivalry. No world will be a better place to fighting. But through negotiations of understanding, please put your story right, and let's see how far we go in this world. Peace, self-discovery, and self-knowing and self-ownership. Honor yourself. Now, this is me sharing myself as much as I can. So, Vunkuwa, once again, there is a story behind it. I am not just a person who is teaching the world about the body mindfulness. I'm the person who have went through so-called dishonored community. I feel shame that we've got so-called hierarchies in this world who are taking all the money and ever taking money every second of every minute, and it's never enough because of we want to control other one's souls. Don't control anyone's souls but your own, because when you control your own soul, it's easy for you to share with those around you. So today, that was my story, self-discovery. Remember what it is. Do not fight to fit in. Just say, I'm okay just as I am. Find yourself. Number 2, of course, self-discovery. Self-discovery, it comes every second of every minute. And this self-discovery has different phases, as I said. It's when you do not have nothing to say and the body wants you to be in silentness. Self-discovery is about you being creative. Always put the bell going of creativity within your mind, within your spirit, in line that creativity, light and clear. Because through your creativity, so you can put your signature coating in the world very strong. Your creativity, it's the only thing you have in this world to say, this is who I am. Number 3, finding yourself. It's knowing that you have to go out there in the world and find those who understand you and those that you understand. Because when you find people who are in line with you, with your views, with your sense of melody, with your sense of peace, so will you be okay. Find your alike world. Align yourself. And when you feel that you're not in line with them, those who are around you, you also have a right to say, thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you. Thank you so much for being in my surrounding. But I feel at this present moment, we do not bring growth to one another. But ever humble, ever humble in the backyard. Let them flourish to their world as they are. Never want to block anyone. Never have bad intention for anyone in this world. Everybody deserves to be successful. Everybody deserves to feel free, because it is a bubble, and this bubble can be heavy sometimes. So your own joy and duty is to wish that everyone around you succeeds. It does not matter who they are. Even if it's your worst enemy that you have declared as an enemy, there is nobody enemy, because that person as well needs to survive as you are. Wish everyone around you, even though they don't belong to your cycle of energy, wish them well. Number 4 in this self-discovery, don't compromise yourself. Don't compromise yourself. Know when to say no, and know when to say yes, and know when to give. Don't give, because In the past, I have been a person who always give. And after you give, you somewhere, somehow expecting others to do the same. And that's when we're creating these expectations. So you only share when you know that those you share with appreciate. And if you're not appreciated, retreat. But retreat very well, because every work that you put in someone to upgrade them, it's your energy that you put in there. How much are they valuing that? Some people do not value what you offer because they want more of you. Sometimes people can be so fascinated by your energy that they create these big expectations. And as they create these big expectations, they come to you to get their expectations, but not to meet you. And because of we are sometimes are so living in a world of expectations, we miss the moments of the people who are just there, who can actually give us what we thought they can give us once we really meet them for who they are. So that's number 4. Make sure that you don't compromise yourself. Give what you can and appreciate what you can appreciate. And if it's not to be appreciated, say why. Number 5, do not just trust anyone out there. Because when you trust anyone out there, you can find yourself in situations where I found myself. Vunkuwa, it's kind of being imagined. It's like I'm starting all over again, which it's that it has been so hard because I worked so hard in the past, having to lose everything that I have worked for and find myself emerging again from the dust as if I was never there. It's like my life was erased and destroyed, and I had to rebuild it again. And it's such a hard space to rebuild because I trusted too much. I had too much trust in the world. So when I say I don't trust, it doesn't mean that I don't trust anyone. I'm very, very aware what is it that I have to trust and what it is that I have to take away from my space, what I have to adopt in. So this is me saying self-discovery, it goes a long way. Self-discovery, it's about making sure that you're well, making sure that you are responsible, making sure that you are protected, making sure that you are implementing correctly into the community, and making sure that you are not taking care, not taking for a ride, and make sure that you do the best you can. Thank you so much. This is Carol Matabula saying one love, and thank you for always watching. Please subscribe for these YouTube channels if you think what I have to say has something to offer you. Thank you so much. Once again, Carol Matabula. God bless. Bye.